Welcome to The Fiber, brought to you by Live Oak Fiber, where we weave together the stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers who are the very fabric of their communities. Join us as we spotlight those who embody the spirit of connection, resilience, and progress.
Hey everyone, Garrett here with Live Oak Fiber, and today I've got a very awesome guest, and we're at a new setting, if you couldn't tell already, but I am at the Black Rifle Coffee Company off John Sims Parkway in Niceville right now, and have the pleasure of talking to Jarret Johnson. He's the former NFL player for the Baltimore Ravens and San Diego Chargers, owner of the Niceville Black Rifle Coffee Company. But Jarret, go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, who you are, and just tell us who you are.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Central Florida. Grew up in a fishing community. My dad was a commercial fisherman. Started playing football in high school. Got a scholarship to the University of Alabama. Played there for 4 years, and then got drafted in the NFL in 2003 to the Baltimore Ravens. I spent 9 years with the Ravens. And then in 2012, I went to the San Diego Chargers and retired in 2015. Personally, I met my wife in college. We got married my second year in the NFL, and we moved to Niceville in 2011. My wife's from Southern Alabama, and so she grew up vacationing in Destin, and so she was familiar with the area. Came down here, found a house, fell in love with the community, and been here ever since. I bought into Black Rifle Coffee with a friend of mine in 2022. I ended up buying him out. Now I'm the sole owner. And yeah, we've been open for 4 years, and it's been quite a journey.
That's awesome. I want to talk about your NFL career,
Yeah.
of course. So when the first time I met Jarret, we were doing, I think it was the lead up to like the Lou and everything.
Right.
And I think JD, who's your general manager, was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, Jarret, he's the owner, he played in the NFL. I'm like, oh, who do you play for? Ravens came up. I'm like, okay, I'm a Niners fan.
Right.
And then he told me, he's like, yeah, he left the Ravens in 2012, which is when the Ravens beat the Niners.
Yeah.
So I was like,
on that team, unfortunately, yeah.
but I was like planning, I was like, oh man, this guy is the person that crushed my dreams
Yeah.
over a decade ago.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. It's the way it panned out. I got there 2 years after their 2000 Super Bowl, or 3 years after their 2000 Super Bowl, and then was a free agent, and they told me to kick rocks, unfortunately. I had 3 great years in San Diego, but I missed out on that 2012 Super Bowl, which is an unbelievable game, by the way, with the power outage and that whole crazy story. Niners came back and whatever.
Gave me hope.
Yeah, I know, right? Gave me hope. But enjoyed my time there. Had a good career. Loved my time in the NFL. Wish I'd have got a ring, but didn't make it. I made it to 2 AFC championships, but no Super Bowls.
Yeah. Now, how is it? Because like obviously, you've played football your whole career, from college to NFL, and I think this is a common talking point amongst you, Steven Tyler, all those guys. Yeah. How big is that jump in terms of competition and just skill when it comes to college to the NFL? Because I feel like, in my opinion, a lot of NFL or college level players just don't quite make it, even though they're the best in college. Like, how big is that jump, or how do you even get used to that?
Yeah, so I mean, as popular as college football is, and as good as the athletes are, people tend to think that it's a bigger jump from high school to college, but it's actually, I would say, the same. And I like to use the analogy, when you're in high school, you're a big fish in a small pond. You're the guy. There's not that many great athletes. Especially where I'm from, I went to a 2A school in Central Florida. I mean, it was 2A ball. A lot of really tough guys. But just not a lot of Division I talent. I played against a handful of guys that were successful in their career, but nothing. Like it is when you get to college.
Yeah.
Everybody fits the mold. They all look the part.
Yeah.
They all are big and fast and whatever.
From their high school teams.
Yeah, but they might not have it mentally. The analogy I like to use is that, high school, you're a big fish in a small pond. You get to college and, the sea gets a little bigger, pond gets a little bigger. There's some bigger fish.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of sharks. You get the NFL, it's all sharks.
Yeah.
Everybody has a skill set. The freak athletes, guys that can process and they can handle the grind. And just the math of making it to the NFL is extremely rare. I mean, there's like, 1.1 million high school players, only 70 go to college, and then
That's wild.
256 get drafted. So the odds of even making it are really rare, so I was extremely fortunate, but I'm also, very humbled by the caliber of athletes that I was able to compete against and play with, and to being able to withstand, that many years.
And what is it for you? Like, what do you think helped you the most go from college to the NFL, and especially have a long career like you did? Because I mean, 12 years isn't very common, especially for a linebacker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's not very common.
Yeah, I was a linebacker and defensive end. Played kind of all over the place on the defensive front. And honestly, the easy answer is that I stayed healthy and I was productive. So every year I got a little bit better than I was the year before, because, like it or love it, they're trying to replace you every year.
Yeah.
They're always, the scouting department, there's a new draft every year, and their job is to improve the team. And whatever, every player has a weakness. Some players have very few weaknesses because they're such great players.
Yeah.
But every player has a weakness, and they're going to identify that weakness and try to find a player that can improve in that position. So they love you, but they're trying to get rid of you every year. And, I was fortunate enough to, I played in 127 consecutive games.
Oh, wow.
I had some injuries, but I was able to stay on the field and stay productive. And the other thing is, every year, I would get a little bit better and a little bit better. And I was able to learn. I could play multiple positions. They can put me in all across the defensive front. And because of that, the more value you bring to the team, the more position, the more you can do, the more value you carry. And, I was just able to just stay on the field.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get rid of me.
Do you use a lot of that, like being a utility player, gonna go both on both sides of the ball? Do you try to utilize that to maybe get a better deal, or at least test free agency a little bit to see what other teams are thinking? Or were you like, I like Baltimore, I'm staying here, they like me, I'm gonna treat them or be loyal to them since they drafted me?
Yeah, so I had 2 free agency opportunities. One was after my 4th year, and I was actually, the other team that wanted me was my former defense coordinator, Mike Nolan, when I was a head coach. And so the Niners were a team that were trying to get me.
Oh, cool.
And they were pretty relentless. I mean, they just kept coming back and kept coming back. And I wanted to stay. I'm a very loyal guy.
Yeah.
I don't like change. And so, and I loved it in Baltimore. I loved my teammates. I loved where I was at. Me and my wife bought a little house, and we're happy where we were at. And, being a small town guy, like, in fact, the thought of moving to San Francisco was a big move across the country, living in California. The whole
Big city
thing.
too.
Big city.
Yeah.
So Baltimore was able to come back and match, what they were offering. So I was able to stay, sign a 5-year deal. And my second time around, I was I was about to turn 30. I was going to be going into my 10th year, which is a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
And, Baltimore was ready to get younger on defense, and they were ready for me to move on. I had some other options. And San Diego was the team at that time that was looking for some veteran leadership. They were looking for a little more grit and tougher players. And so I was able to bring some value to that team. They drafted a guy in my position in the 1st round. So there was some competition there.
Yeah.
But my role there was more of a leadership. They obviously want you to be productive and to carry your weight. But my role there was more of a cultural thing to change the cultural dynamic of the team, because we had so much defensive history with the Ravens, so much success on the defensive side of the ball. They were trying to bring that to the Chargers. And so, but yeah, those are my 2 free agent opportunities. And I honestly hated both of them. I just wanted to stay at one team or retire there, but it's, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of the business, I guess.
Yeah, there's a business side of the game, and And I still have Raven fans, that always ask me about why I left. I took the money and this and that. What they don't understand is if I would have stayed with the Ravens, they were going to cut me because, my value to the team had diminished, and there's a pie, and whatever the size of the slice of the pie is the weight that you carry.
Yeah.
And when they shrunk that slice of the pie down to a little sliver, they had no obligation to me.
Yeah.
And they drafted a player in the second round, early in the second round that year. And if I would have signed the contract just to stay where I wanted to stay, they would have cut me, and I would have been on the street with nothing.
It's crazy. Is there, I mean, not that it's remorse or what's the word I'm thinking of? Kind of like a bad taste in the mouth between you and the Ravens organization. Is that sort of something that you just get over pretty quickly because you understand it's like the business side of it, or is it something that it's like, I understand where they're coming from. It just is what it is.
At the time, like I was really upset.
Yeah.
Because I was so loyal to them, and I was a diehard. I was all about that franchise.
Yeah. And
it hurts when they tell you that it's time to go. Like a girlfriend breaking up with you and telling you you're not good looking enough. And so at the time I was hurt, but I later came back and did a scouting internship with the Ravens the year after I retired, and got to see the personnel side from the the belly of the beast, from how they work internally. And I was able to see, like, you literally are, a commodity.
Yeah.
They like you and respect you personally, but they were able to detach from that personal attachment to you. They're able to detach from that and look at you from a business standpoint, and they are simply just trying to get better and win football games.
Yeah.
And I would have done the same thing they did at that point, I believe. It would be hard for me to say then, but you only have so much cap space. The guys that they had signed that year had eaten up a big chunk of the cap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, looking at it now, there's absolutely no resentment, no remorse. Like, I'm thankful for the 9 years that I had. I mean, there are a lot of guys that retire bitter and angry at their former teams, and they leave resentful and and have a bad taste in their mouth about their career. I was more thankful for the opportunity and being able to live a dream, and I probably wouldn't have said that then, but I definitely say that now.
Yeah. Now, transitioning out of the NFL, I imagine it's sort of like, I guess, how a lot of our military members feel. It's like you have
similar
structure, you have a career that you almost get told what to do every day. Like, you have very much everything planned out. For you, what does that look like? What did it feel like, leaving the NFL for the first time, stop playing football probably for the first time in your life?
Yeah.
What is
So
it?
the best analogy that I've heard, and that correlates to the NFL, definitely to the military, but also, to people just getting out of the business world. Anybody that's like hyper focused on one thing for years on end. The anomaly or the weird part about being, a professional athlete or in the military is that transition happens at a young age.
Yeah.
And you still have a lot of life in front of you. And the best analogy that I've heard that is so true that playing in the NFL or being in the military or whatever is like traveling down a road. And the road is difficult, but there's signs.
Yeah.
There's time. Everything's cylindrical. Like, everything's on a rhythm.
Yeah.
You have your mini camp, and then you go into the off season, the summer preparation, then you go into the preseason and training camp and your preseason games. You go and as long as you stay on that road, you're good.
Yeah.
But just like you said, they're always telling you where to be, when you have to be there, how to do it. When you show up to the facility, here's your meal, here's your meeting. Every day you have an itinerary, and it's broke down by the minute. At 6:15 we're meeting here, at 7:15 with this, at 7:35, like all the way down.
Yeah.
And then you retire, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
So you go from traveling down a road to being in an open field, and there's a million signs. They're all pointing in a different direction.
Yeah.
None of them are right. and all of them are wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can go in any direction, especially when you get out of the NFL, because you have the means
Yeah.
to do, like, what do you want to do? You
Yeah.
go start a restaurant? Go start a restaurant. Real estate developer, car dealerships, just go sit on a beach somewhere. They're all right.
Yeah.
But which one is actually right? Which one, like, brings you value? Which one is going to give you purpose?
Which one's going to
And
set
that
you up
is
for the future?
And
too.
that is a struggle.
Yeah.
And I talk to my military buddies about this all the time. Like, whatever, because I was really excited about retiring. I had all these plans that I was going to do and whatever. And then you get out and you realize, like, oh, like, this is not as easy as I thought it was. And what I thought I was going to want to do, I kind of hate.
Yeah.
And so whatever you think your plan is going to be, it's going to change because you've never been in this situation before. You know, so it's, and a lot of guys struggle with it. A lot of guys get paralyzed by that freedom can be very paralyzing.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's right. And, you know, every time people are like, don't blow your money, just save it. What are you gonna do? Just sit at the house?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to do something.
Fill up your time somehow, right? Yeah.
And a lot of guys are, you know, type A personalities. They're hard chargers. And if you take that personality and you put them, you know, their focus into the wrong things, going to Vegas, partying,
Yeah.
traveling to ridiculous places for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a recipe for disaster, and a lot of guys experience it. And then you have, you know, just a loss of value.
Yeah.
You have, you know, family issues you never dealt with. You know, you might have married some crazy wife. You didn't realize she was crazy until you were around her all the time.
Yeah.
Family after you. And then it's really hard, you know, just not being a part of a team, you know, not being around the guys. I mean, I remember the first time I went back to college, I went to University of Alabama, and you go back and you go to open that door, and that door doesn't open.
Yeah.
And then you knock on the window and you wave at Miss Brenda, and Miss Brenda, the former secretary, is not sitting there anymore. And there's some new secretary, and she calls security. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, that is, you know, it sounds crazy, but it is really, really hard. And every former player experiences it.
Now, you did mention that after you retired, you went to the Baltimore Ravens to do like an internship in their scouting department. Is that one of those things where you said like you didn't like what you were doing, or you were just kind of exploring your options to see how you can stay maybe involved with football, and then maybe ultimately decide like this isn't for me?
Yeah, so I wanted to keep my options open. So my plan, I grew up in a fishing family. My goal was to get my captain's license and run a charter business. I wanted to fish for a living, just like my dad did. And to me, that was, you know, a dream life. You know, you live your dream, play in the NFL, retire, be a fishing captain the rest of my life. I'm like, right? Like, can't get any better.
Yeah.
And then I figured out, like, taking people fishing sometimes sucks. You don't make any money. You're up at 4 o'clock in the morning in the burning sun all day. You're dealing with weather and all these things. The other charter captains hate you because you're this former NFL player who bought a nice boat because you can afford it, you know, whatever.
So you had the leg up on him somehow.
Yeah, that's right. And so there was a lot of things that were, because I love to fish, but doing it for a living, you know, kind of ruined my hobby.
Yeah.
The scouting, so I got my captain's license, fished that summer. Ozzie Newsome called me, offered me a internship in the personnel department. Went and worked for them for the training camp, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a different side of football. You got to see a different angle of evaluating players and all that goes into building a team, and I loved it. However, it is extremely time consuming.
Yeah.
You know, the hours are ungodly. I mean, most of the guys have a cot in their office. They sleep at the office. They're on the road all the time. And I was excited about retiring.
Yeah.
I was excited about seeing what I could do away from football. I was excited about being around my girls. My oldest daughter was starting kindergarten that year. And so they offered me a full-time job, and I turned it down, and I stayed on. I did some radio with them, and then I also did some freelance scouting for about 4 years with them. But I just never jumped in full go.
Yeah.
because of the time constraint,
Yeah.
because I do have hobbies. I like to hunt and I fish, and I like to be around my girls. I like sitting on the back porch and cooking and whatever. And when you're in it, whether you're a coach or a scout, work for the personnel department, like there is no doing it halfway.
Yeah.
You're all in, and I am not in a place in my life. And honestly, like, I get an offer every year still. Still, I got 2 job offers this year to go back, and I'm just not willing to leave my family
Yeah.
and give the lifestyle that I've built, to give it up to be around a sport that I love. Even though I know I would be successful, I know I would love it, and I would like the grind, but my family would not.
Yeah.
So I don't do it.
Is that maybe something that you're thinking, like, daughters are off to college or even kind of later in that part, and then maybe you're like, all right, now I can dive into it a little bit more?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, you got to keep that option open,
Yeah.
you know. And I talk to all, you know. It's interesting because, you know, I'm 43 now, so a lot of the guys that I played with are head coaches, coordinators, GMs, you know, scouts, position coaches. You know, I got guys. Anytime I turn on an NFL game, I'm like, oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so.
Commentating or doing something.
They're doing something. And so I keep those relationships alive, you know, because they're my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'll ever be willing to go back in. I mean, it is your number one when you're in. And I say that, and people are like, oh, I work all the time too. I'm talking about 18, 20 hours a day.
That's all you do. Yeah.
That is what you do. And you get a couple weeks off in the summertime, and there is sometimes personnel group is different. They're during the season, they still travel and they're on the road, but they get really busy pre-draft.
Yeah.
You know, from January till the end of April when the draft happens, they are always gone. The coaches are different. It's from training camp till the last game.
Yeah.
And it is the schedule and the pace is ungodly.
Yeah. That's all right. I mean, I used to work in sports before I came to Florida and in Live Oak and everything. And that was the thing. I was like, I only did temporary employment, so I was only working 30 hours a week at most.
Yeah.
But I was around all these other people that were full-time employees. And it really is, even for like the MLS, like the soccer for the United States. And it was just the same thing. It's like, the funny thing is like one of the first meetings, like, you're doing sports, not necessarily for the money, but it's because you love the sport you're in, or you love the sort of the industry, that around being around competition or around the people that do that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's 100% true. It's like you are 100% in. Like, there is no time for anything else.
Yep.
You are committed to that sport, making your team better because you're a part of it. And it's interesting to see behind the scenes, because like I grew up watching the San Jose Earthquakes, the soccer team, and that's the team I ended up working for. And kind of like what you were mentioning is like, it does kill your passion a little bit too, like knowing like if you're committing that. And it's like, for me, I was like, I got out of sports and I was like, I wanted to stay in it. COVID changed things. And I was like, maybe not. But like now I found what I do now and I enjoy it.
Right.
And it's like, it's hard to commit that and like be dedicated to doing something like that, knowing like, hey, it might kill my passion for, you know, the sport that I grew up playing and loving and things like that. But no, I get that 100%.
Yeah.
So how did you've jumped around a little bit. You wanted to be the fishing captain, dabbled in football again a little bit. Now you're the owner of Black Rifle Coffee Company. Where did that come from? How did you get involved? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So this was certainly not my intention to get to be a franchise owner and own a coffee shop. But so I was traveling with the team from 2017, 18, 19. And I was doing radio and I was doing some freelance scouting and fishing when I was home, you know, and I was enjoying life. COVID shut all that down. They didn't have a need for a color analyst, which is what I was doing. And I'd actually accepted a full-time job going into personnel. We were going to move to Baltimore. And then when COVID happened, everything was remote.
Yeah.
And so we were going to be moving to Baltimore to just work out of a basement.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
You could fish on the weekends.
Yeah. And so, and at the time, they didn't even know if there was going to be an NFL season. I mean, that was the spring of 2020 when nobody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I ended up turning down the job, and it was actually good for me because I was, 5 years after retirement. I was kind of spinning, I was struggling, and that's kind of why I took the job. Is like, I don't know what I'm doing in the private sector. I'm just going to what I know. I'm going back to what I know. I know ball. So I was going back to football. And that time home, I just kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
Appreciation for where we lived, our community, my family, my wife. It was just a really, really good time. And so all of 2020, and then going into 2021, I was content.
Yeah.
I was getting healthier. I was working out a bunch. I'd made a bunch of connections here in town at some buddies that were up at 7th group. Had started training and working out with them. Had a really good friend group. And I was just kind of content just being retired. I was still fishing, and I was keeping myself busy enough without having like a day-to-day job. And this guy I knew from the gym came up to me one day, was like, "Hey, would you like to start a coffee shop?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "What about a Black Rifle coffee shop?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd known about the brand, obviously,
Mission and everything.
yeah, the whole thing, the whole outdoor thing, and obviously had a lot of connection to the military." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll look into it." And long story short, we ended up partnering, and he had a connection to the founders and got a franchise and opened the coffee shop. And man, like, I loved it. I loved, number one, I love coffee, but I love its connection to the community and what it represents, and all the things. We stayed partners for about a year and a half. And then he went through some personal issues, and I ended up buying him out. And I'm still learning. I'm a terrible, administrative businessman, but I am a people person.
Yeah.
I do like connecting with people, and that's all business is, whether it's your employees or a customer, dealing with issues. Is how you relate to people, how you speak to people. And I've loved it. I've loved it. It's mainly its connection to the community.
Yeah. Do you feel like you investing and actually building Black Rifle Coffee here in Niceville has helped you understand business, as well as how important networking is to help you not only maybe grow, open another franchise, or at least open up your possibilities on what you can do in business? Has that helped you? I would assume it seems like you're jumping in almost not blind, but
Yeah, yes and no. It's I've learned a lot. When we first got started, we'd get on these corporate Zoom calls with Black Rifle, all the executives and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the hell anybody was talking about. They speak in this corporate, all this lingo, and I like, I'm like over on the side Googling like, what does this mean? Like whatever. And I remember like when we first opened, they kept talking about using this term SKU. And everybody knew what SKU meant. And I was like, am I the only person that doesn't know what SKU is? And I'm like, around this, like, what is SKU?
no, trying to figure out how to spell it too. You're like, what?
Oh yeah, I'm like SC, whatever.
And nothing's coming up.
Yeah, exactly. And I've learned to, whatever you bring to whatever business you run.
Yeah.
Don't change who you are.
Yeah.
Like, be true to yourself. And I am not going to walk into a boardroom and impress people with my corporate lingo and my legal jargon and whatever. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I've also learned to appreciate what I do bring to the table, and everybody has value. And that's been, probably the biggest thing that I've learned. And when I first opened, I was super ambitious about opening multiple stores and growing and expanding and building a team and all this stuff. And, it's your real estate stuff. And I've kind of learned to just kind of be content with my one store and operating this store the best of my ability, having the best employees that I can get, making sure that every employee is happy and enjoys coming to work and is getting what they need, whether they're a high school kid just wanting to make a couple bucks and learn to work for the first time, or whether it's, a 30-year-old young mother who's supporting a family.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've learned to appreciate all those things and what you as an employer can do for them to better improve their life.
Yeah.
Early on, we had a lot of guys getting out of the military that would come to work for us, and they would kind of use the coffee shop as a stepping stone
Yeah.
out of the military into the private sector. And at one point, I had 8 Green Berets working for me.
Oh, wow.
And all of them said it was good for them.
Yeah.
You know, just learning to deal with other employees,
Civilians too.
yeah. They might be on shift. You might have a 35-year-old retired 20-year Green Beret.
Yeah.
And he's on a shift with 2 high school girls and a boy that's home from college.
Yeah.
You know, how do you can't speak to them the way you spoke to your teammates in the team room, you know? So, that was something I'm very prideful of, is what we were able to give those guys. For whatever reason, now it's me and JD are the only 2 guys. We have all women employees, which has been great. We like to think we're the bosses, but we're not. They are definitely the bosses. They run the show. But it's been fun, and it's been fun, you know, seeing, you know, your my personality and my GM's personality, and how that's trickled down to how our employees interact with each other and the customers.
Yeah. So you guys, just in case the viewers don't know, us, Live Oak Fiber, and Black Rifle Coffee, Niceville in particular, we only met, you know, you guys know Tiffany fairly well. She's our community engagement manager, but we met basically to try to get involved with the community, show that we are be involved in the community as much as we can. You guys have been doing that, especially you and your store. You guys have been involved in the community for quite some time. Why is it so important for you, and maybe Black Rifle as a whole, to be so involved with the local community, making sure that your presence is felt? Why is it important for you guys to get involved?
Well, for 2 reasons. Number one, is what Black Rifle claims to be.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to live that. We're going to be authentic in you know, how we relate to our customer and our community. You know, that's kind of the easy answer. The main answer is because, you know, number one, my relationship to, before I bought Black Rifle, all my buddies, unless they were guys that I fish with, were military guys, and particularly 7th group guys. I just had, you know, a good connection with a lot of the Green Berets here in town. My first 2 GMs, my current GM, are both prior retired Green Berets. And, you know, there's a lot of people walking around this community that have done incredible things and that deserve that honor and that respect. And it's, you know, even before I bought the coffee shop, I was going to do shooting events and go do workouts. And it wasn't an event. I just go train with the guys or shoot with the guys or go whatever. So when we bought the coffee shop, it was a perfect marriage to what I like to do, the way I like to interact with the guys, and then what this brand stands for, you know, and it's what drew me to them. Probably the biggest thing is their connection to the military. So it was a pretty easy thing, you know, to get involved with the military or to get involved with the community, and especially, you know, our military first responders. And it's, you know, you know, what I love. And, you know, like, I was in college during 9/11. You know, a lot of the guys my age went to fight. Yeah. And I was playing a sport, you know, so there is a level of, like, not regret, but kind of like, I would say, like a level of guilt. Yeah. That they sacrificed so much, and so many guys went and fought and you know, lost life and experienced incredible things. And I play sport for a living. And so I think that I'm, you know, obligated to give back as much as possible.
That's awesome. So what's next for you? Anything, you know, you can share, if you have anything, like any expansions to Black Rifle, or are you just kind of holding steady?
Right now we're just holding tight. You know, the company as a whole has gone through some transitions from the top, and so they're kind of waiting to see, you know, where they're going to go before you want to expand. You know, obviously real estate in this area is really tough. This is a great market to expand in, but you know, early on, like I said, I was very ambitious about expanding, and Black Rifle wouldn't let me. And then when they came back around and wanted me to expand, I was like, it's not really the best time. And so right now I'm just kind of in a holding pattern. You know, I've got some other business opportunities I've got involved in. You know, nothing that's, you know, that's forward facing like a coffee shop like this.
Yeah.
But I'm always up to something. I'm always getting involved in something. I'm always staying busy. But as far as the coffee shop goes, we're just going to focus on, you know, running the store as efficiently as we can and serving the community as best we can. And you know, if the opportunity presents itself to expand, maybe I will one day.
Yeah.
But I'm not actively looking to do anything right now.
Yeah. Well, I would say this coffee shop and Main Brew over in Fort Walton are my only two coffee shops that I really like.
Okay.
I'm not a huge coffee drinker, albeit, but
Yeah.
the only places I get same iced vanilla latte every time I
Yeah.
go. And it's the only place, this place and Main Brew, the only places I like it. Everywhere else I'm not a fan of, but
Well, I'd love to have you.
Jarret, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Is there anything that you want to share before we sign off and head our separate ways?
No, just thanks for having me. And, you know, if you're in the area, come and see us.
Absolutely.
Serve you America's coffee.
Sweet.
Yep.
Jarret, thank you so much.
Yep.
Guys, if you have any thoughts, comments, leave them in the comments below. Visit Black Rifle Coffee in Niceville. Jarret's here, I feel like, a handful of times. I'm not sure if you show up all the time, but
Yeah, when my kids are home, I'm summertime, I'm pretty busy, but in the fall, definitely in the fall, I'm here a lot.
yeah. Come visit. Great coffee, great food.
Yep.
I enjoy it. But
Thank you.
Jarret, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning into The Fiber. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. If you want to learn more about Live Oak Fiber, visit us at liveoakfiber.com.